Also, hi, Brenda. Hey, Jill. Jill's our guest speaker today. Hang out. We'll get to you in a minute. Hi, Aisha. How you doing? Hey, Daryl and Dean. Miss Eunice, to see you too. Hi, everybody. We're letting everybody in the Zoom room. It is a Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern time here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that means it is time to get together for another session of Life Amplified. Lucho's behind the screen with Nick today. They're watching and letting everybody in. Hi. Oh, Peter already got it started. Thank you very much, Peter, from sunny Dallas. Peter knew exactly what I was going to ask. Next, Peter, give us the winning lottery numbers, please. I'm also asking for those. So tell us where you're coming to us from and how the weather is where you are. Peter gave us a great example in the Zoom chat. Laughing at me. I'll laugh at me too. But I really would like to know if you've got the winning lottery numbers. It'll just between the two of us. But then suddenly everybody's prosthetics bills will be paid for too. And that's how you will know if we win the lottery, if Emily or me win the lottery. So welcome to all of our friends who are joining us live on Zoom and our friends on TikTok. Hi, welcome to Behind the Scenes. Put in the chat where you're coming to us from and how the weather is in your area. I'm Jennifer. I'm the Executive Director for Amputee Aid. Amputee Aid is a local 501c3 nonprofit right here in Pittsburgh, but serving folks all over the country and in Canada. And we get together every Wednesday for Life Amplified, sponsored by Amputee Aid. It's our webinar. It's our time to laugh, learn, share, educate, get together as a community, and hopefully impart some wisdom and inspiration on all of you. Today, Jill, who's joining us live on Zoom, is our guest speaker. Hang out for a little bit. We're going to get to you, but we have some standard things that we'd like to do at the beginning of all of our webinars. One of them is which, tell us where you're coming to us from and how the weather is. Chilly. I know, Jeff, we sent that to you, your way in Connecticut. It was, but we're also sending to you some beautiful sunshine. That's coming your way too, because it's nice and sunny here in the Pittsburgh area. I know we've got Florida in the house. We've got our friends down in Texas. We've got Indiana. We've got Canada. Hi, Canada in the house as well. So I'd love to see all of you. Thank you for joining us. If you are watching our YouTube recording, hi to you as well. Put in the comments where you are coming to us from. We'd like to know how far we reach. Although Emily and I in here in the Pittsburgh area, we serve folks all over the country and hopefully at some point every state. We're getting pretty close, even Alaska. We haven't had Hawaii yet. So if you are someone with limb loss and limb difference watching us in Hawaii, call us, message us, click the little blue get help button on our website so we can help you.
I'll do a home visit in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's in our budget, but if you want to go on your own time, I'll approve it. How are you, Emily?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Introduce yourself to all of our new people.
Hi, everyone. Emily, social worker.
So Emily provides all of our social work services here. And this is kind of on brand, on topic for today.
Yes.
Now, you all, in addition to saying hi and getting to know everyone, for our new people, hello. You will see over the hour that we have folks joining us. They might be sneaking in a break at work, getting on the Zoom while their kiddos or grandkiddos are taking a nap, joining us from another group. So we will watch the Zoom waiting room. Please greet those folks as they come in. Oh, thank you, April. And we try to watch the comments as best we can. Now, this is an interactive session, okay? So if you have questions, advice you want to share to the folks live or folks on TikTok or the folks watching our recording on YouTube, don't hesitate to speak up. Feel free to interrupt us most of the time. We interrupt each other all of the time, but you can also use one of the little emojis on Zoom, or you can type your comment in the chat. We will try to get to as many comments as we can. We also, as I said, have Lucho and Nick behind the screen helping us so we can capture those comments. Now, on that point, we should tell everyone that we are recording and there are some certain rules or policies that we have with every webinar that we do. Go ahead, Emily, tell us more about those.
So we are coming to you live. And so if you do, we encourage you to come off of mute and speak, but just be mindful that this is recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you're someone that doesn't want your voice on the internet, then just go ahead and type in the chat, like she said, your question or your comment, but just do be mindful that your voice will be on the internet. Yeah. Also, this is a safe space. Please be kind to everyone. And if there's something, this kind of really isn't the forum for something super, super personal. So if you have a question or something kind of pertaining to your personal life, please go to our website, amputee-aid.com, click the little blue get help button in the corner, and Jennifer and I will be glad to connect with you and assist you in your more personal type matters.
Yes. Because this is a recording, please, although if you have the winning lotto numbers, you're welcome to share them with all of us. Do not put your personal financial information on here, okay? Because it's going out into the internet. We cannot protect it. But we do want to answer questions. So as we go along, if you have questions and you're comfortable sharing, put your information in your question in the chat, or just go ahead and raise your emoji hand or interrupt us. And we'd love to talk with you. I saw we also have West Virginia and California in the house. So welcome. Hello to all of you. And thank you for sharing your weather stories. Hopefully we'll all have nice weather kind of coming into the summer months. Now, final introductory thing before we talk about our topic today is this white box. We're doing another giveaway. You all, our regulars know we like to do giveaways. Okay. So and this one, although last week I said it would not come with homework, it does. I'm sorry, but we are test running our welcome client kits. Okay, so last week we sent one out to Linda. This week we're going to do another one. All right. So how you get in on this giveaway is you just have to be on Zoom with us through the next hour. So for the next, now about 53 minutes until 3:00 Eastern time today. So all of our TikTok friends, join the Zoom link. You can find it on our page. Just look for our flyer. Get on over to Zoom to get in on this giveaway. Our YouTube folks, maybe this is a little incentive to join us live sometime, because we do a lot of giveaways and we have some cool things coming up. But we want to do some homework first so you can all help us. Okay, so we will be sending out welcome client kits, which is little goodies, some notes, some things that you might like, some tea, that kind of thing. And we would like some feedback on, are these helpful? Are they not helpful? Is there something else that you think we should put in the box? Okay, so you're going to get this. If you are drawn as the winner today, send us a couple of notes with some feedback on it. Okay. I wish that we could put the winning lottery numbers in here, but we can't. But if you have other suggestions, or maybe a little bit more in our budget as a small but thriving nonprofit, you can share that. So we'll put that here, and Lucha will take all of your names. All you have to do is be present on the Zoom screen. Lucha is taking the names, and near the end of our hour together, we will draw the winner for this box. Okay, everyone? Now, we are continuing May's topic, which is advocacy. Last week, we talked about financial advocacy and how to learn how to advocate for yourself if you qualify for an ABLE account. But even if you don't, where you can go to find resources or opportunities to learn more about other accounts that you might qualify for to advocate for yourself financially, whether it's with employment, gifts coming to you, how you can maximize both your income coming in and your disability benefits, for example, and all things tax related. That was a pretty complex webinar. And so it's worth your time, if you have not already done this, to watch the recording again on YouTube. And if you have not already asked us questions, you can contact us, as well as our speaker, whose information is included in that YouTube video, to learn more about how you might be able to use an ABLE account, or if you don't qualify, what other resources are available to you in your area. All right, so please go back and watch that recording if you haven't already. Next week, we're talking about self-advocacy and how to advocate for your me time, okay? And we're going to talk about things like blogging and hobbies with Kim. So, Kim, did you know you were already on deck again? Kim is an amazing speaker for us and has done a lot of topics for us, including travel. So look at our YouTube page for those. And we'll be talking about personal time, advocacy, hobbies, and how to make some time for yourself next week. And we're also doing a giveaway next week that's worth $50. Okay, so come back next week and try to get in on that one. We're going to close out the month talking about patient advocacy and social media with Mr. Five Toes Down. Okay, Henry. So, and he's going to be live. No, he's going to be on Zoom with us, but he'll be live for a podcast that we're doing later that week too. So we've got a lot of things coming up. Today, we are talking about employment advocacy and resources with OVR, okay? Now, I'm going to turn it over to Emily in a moment here to give us an introduction to our speaker, but let me give you my disclaimers as executive director, okay? So I'm putting on my executive director hat, everyone. OVR, we're going to be talking about resources from somebody who's located in Pennsylvania, okay? This does not mean that for all of our friends in different states that this is not applied to you. It does, okay? We will help you find the office equivalent in your area. The terminologies might be a little bit different. The vocabulary might be a little bit different. Most of the time, it's going to be the same. The core concepts are the same, but just know as we're getting into this conversation that although we're talking to someone who's here in Pennsylvania, and we're talking, and for our Pennsylvania clients, you're going to understand all of this, and the resources are here right now, present for you. For our friends in other states, please stick around because these resources are available in your area. They might be called something a little different. Okay, so just know that up front. And we also want to say, as my second disclaimer, no judgment. If you are someone who decides at this station in my life, I do not want to seek employment, that is okay. Here at Amputee Aid, we believe in supporting our clients and their decisions that are personal to you. We do not want to suggest that everyone must be employed, but if employment is important to you, either from a financial perspective, a self-esteem perspective, maybe you are at a station in your life where you cannot be unemployed, this is a topic for you. If you and all of you, I ventured to guess, know someone who might benefit from this conversation, even if it's not you directly. All right, now taking off my executive director hat. I got all that out of the way. Emily, tell us a little bit more about our guest speaker.
Yes, so Miss Jill, she's a dedicated vocational rehabilitation counselor with Pittsburgh's Office of Vocational Rehab. She's been helping individuals overcome barriers to employment, empowering people with disabilities to build meaningful careers and greater independence. She sits at the intersection of advocacy, workforce development, and human connection. We're excited to hear her insights on supporting people through career transitions, accessibility, and opportunity. Welcome, Jill.
Yay, welcome, Jill. Thank you very much. And you can unmute yourself so we can hear from you. Jill is joining us on Zoom. So our TikTok friends, if you want to see her instead of just hearing her, hop on over to the Zoom as well. Welcome to Live Amplify, Jill. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Hi,
Thank you for the introduction. I did not write that.
Yes. But it sounded amazing, and I think is probably underselling all of the amazing work that you do to help folks who come to your office. And by the way, hi to our friends in Utah. I'm reading the comments as we go along. Hello, nice to see you. So Jill, let's if we could start out by having you introduce yourself as well and telling us a little bit more about you and your background. Could we do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, yes, my name is Jill Salaske. I'm with the Pennsylvania Office of Vocational Rehab, specifically the Pittsburgh office. We cover not only the city of Pittsburgh, but the county of Allegheny. And I've been with the agency for about 24 years. And within that time frame, I've worked with amputees for the last 20 years. I had to think about that. I've also worked with transition high school students, and I also work with individuals with substance abuse disorders as well, and along with other myriad of disability, anything ranging from mental health to learning to intellectual, other physical disabilities. It runs the gamut. It runs the spectrum.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Now, am I right that although you are located here in Pittsburgh, the OVR itself as a concept, this kind of service exists in multiple states? Is that right?
Yes, it is federal law that we do exist in every state.
Okay.
And like you had mentioned, there's variations on names.
Yeah.
By each state.
Yeah.
And each state has a different way of possibly eligibility criteria. They may have a different way they allocate their money. I obviously can't speak to that. I can only speak to what we do here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But just to kind of put that disclaimer out there. I've had friends that have worked in other states, and they'll say like, "Oh, you guys pay for that? We don't pay for that." And then they may pay for something that we don't. So again, it kind of runs the gamut of state to state and the way they allocate their funding.
Okay, great point, Jill. And so for everyone who's in a different state here, which is a lot of you, okay, you're going to want to connect with us, with Emily, or with your local office so that we can find out what eligibility criteria there are, as well as what the scope of resources are specific to you. So the goal of this discussion we're having is to start planting those seeds, getting you all thinking about either yourself or someone you know in the community that we serve who might benefit from these services. Now, Jill, on that point, I think lots of people, myself included, to be completely transparent, are like vaguely aware of this thing called OVR. Like they've heard of it. They might have known someone who went to OVR, but they might not really understand what OVR is and what kind of services it provides. So could you give us just a kind of foundational discussion? What is OVR and what services does OVR provide?
So everything that we do is employment related. That is our number one outcome goal, is employment. How that looks, that's different for every person. Some individuals may need things to support them to maintain their employment. Maybe they're currently employed. They may need services to help them maintain their current employment. Some individuals may need further counseling and guidance services to transition into different types of employment. Say they weren't able to do a job that they've done for, say, 10, 15 years. We may have to go back and talk about other job goals, talk about some retraining. Everything that we do is, again, it goes back to job, vocational goal, work.
So employment is a goal. So that being said, what are some things that OVR cannot help people with?
We don't do anything recreational. A lot of times people think that helping with golf lessons. Much as you'd like golf lessons, that's cool, but we don't do anything recreational. We really don't do anything like independent living wise per se. Again, it goes back to job work. How does this, service help you move forward with obtaining or maintaining your job goal?
Got it. Okay. All right. So if I could give an example, if someone is looking for maybe help getting adaptive equipment for a sport, that would be an amputee aid service. That is not an OVR service.
No.
If someone is looking for help finding a training program so that they can upskill to get a job, that would be an OVR service. Is that right? Okay.
Right, yeah.
So tell us, what are kind of the common types of help that OVR provides? Give us some specific examples of things that OVR commonly provides for people.
Well, we commonly provide assistance with, I'm just going to kind of jump around a little bit,
Okay.
with job seeking. So we partner with our one-stops in our state, which is called CareerLink. Every other state has a one-stop as well. Mm-hmm. We also have a business services team on staff that help with individuals who are at that point where they're job ready. Like they have a resume together, they have the proper training if necessary. We have services within our office that can help them do some interview prep, help with job leads, help with a little bit of resume writing, help with some mock interview. And again, we partner with our one-stops as well. So we encourage our customers to utilize those one-stops for additional services. And also under that job umbrella, if you want to say that, we also work with people who may need more support on a job. So we may have individuals who, say, want to work in a restaurant and they may need more guidance on the actual job. Say they're going to bus tables. I'm just using that as an example. They may need more help on more one-on-one help with maintaining and obtaining that job. So we work with a lot of different community partners and agencies that do what we call supported employment. So that's a little bit more of an intense service for people who may need that. I've done supported employment for many years. I don't do it all the time, but it's one of the things that we do provide for our customers.
Great. Now, Jill, I don't want to interrupt you, but like I said, we interrupt people all the time. Because Lynn, thank you, Lynn, for this question. I saw a question come through in the chat, which I think is material to this topic in particular, which is retraining. So let's talk about the amputee community in particular. If someone who is an amputee cannot return to the type of work that they had pre-amputation, does OVR help with retraining, not just upskilling to the same kind of job, but like training in a different field?
Correct. Yes, we have done that many, many times. That is another service that we do. Now, what we do is we would meet with the customer, discuss those options, discuss those goals. Our number one thing is to boil it down to a goal, a certain job goal, and then look at training programs that offer training in order to obtain that job goal, whether it's a 2-year school, a 4-year school, a business trade or technical program. Again, it just kind of runs the gamut on the person, the customer. We've even had some people go through some like what we call non-traditional training. Like for example, I have 2 people going through training to learn how to be a dog trainer. That's a very non-traditional
Okay.
type of goal, but I have 2 people that are going through that right now. And how that works is, I mean, that's all under policies that we have in place. It's not, a lot of times people will come to us and say, like, I want to go, see CCAC, which is our local community college in Allegheny County. Okay, well, there's steps and policies and things to that. You have to apply for financial aid. You have to complete a FAFSA form. And I tell people there's a possibility we can assist with some tuition assistance, but I usually tell people, to err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, I can't promise you that we're going to pay for this whole training program. More often than not, especially if you're attending a 4-year college, you're going to have to take out a student loan. I tell people that up front. Again, it's their decision to make.
Mm-hmm. Now, we had 2 other questions come in, and this is one I wanted to ask too. So I'm going to ask the first question first. Earth-shattering statement. What about folks who are looking to train for remote jobs? Does OVR typically support folks who are looking for remote type of work, or are they retraining for like in-person types of jobs?
Either or.
Either or. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So second question, and this one I was. Go ahead, Jill.
Elaborate a little bit on the remote.
Yes, please go right ahead.
Sure. So obviously during the pandemic, everyone moved to remote work. And it was, again, I'm speaking again for our specific area. So I want to put that out there. Mm-hmm. We're finding now that that's becoming a little more difficult to find again. Because I think a lot of employers are moving to more hybrid or back in the office type of positions. But again, that's something we can definitely sit down with a customer and discuss those options. And our business services team has a little bit more insight on that as well. But a lot of times people think like remote, like perfect,
Okay.
Yeah, in some cases it is. And then I usually tell people too, with remote work comes with another flip side of responsibility. A lot of times people think, I could just work when I feel good or when I'm having a good day. And it's like, I understand that, but when you have a job, you can't always do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always say, I'm having a lot of pain today. I can't come in. Okay, if you had sick time leave, okay. But, that's something to kind of just keep in mind, that it's not as flexible as some people think it is from the outside. And some companies monitor your computer activity a lot. Like if you're gone for 5 minutes, like they know that you're gone for 5 minutes, even if you've gone to go to the bathroom, so there's a flip side to that.
Yes. Yeah. We're lucky the camera's a little bit far away from us, because I instantly side-eyed Nick behind the screen, our IT person, because I'm wondering how much we do that at our office. You don't have to answer. It's okay. And so before we get to this big question that I think is probably on top of mind for a lot of people, and you all keep putting your questions in there or raise your little emoji hand and we'll ask the question.
Yes.
We're going to get to those in a minute, but I want to sidebar because I am personally curious about this. So I think other people might be wondering too. When it comes to setting an employment goal, so when we're talking about, maybe you do want to train to be a dog trainer, or let's seriously look at remote work. What is the range of flexibility when working with OVR to establish an employment goal? So if I'm a client, I'm a new amputee and I'm coming to OVR and I have an employment history in office work, but I say, you know what, in my new life, I want to work in fashion. But I have no background in fashion. Would OVR say, we need to redirect you to something that's in line with your prior work history, or is there some flexibility there in establishing an employment goal?
There is. We also look at job market data. A lot of times I have people that want to do art careers, which art careers are great, and a lot of people have talent and passion for that.
Yeah.
But in my 24 years here, I've seen a lot of people that do graphic arts, and again, this is my experience, my area, our specific area, they can't find consistent work.
Okay.
A lot of times it's gig work, or, it's temp work. It's something that's not real long-term or long-sustaining.
Okay.
So we do talk about those factors when it comes to discussing job goals.
Okay.
Whether you had brought up fashion, that kind of triggered my mind. Fashion's great, but, we live in Pittsburgh. It's, we don't live in New York or LA. So those are, things we have to consider,
Yeah. Yeah, we love Pittsburgh, but we are not the fashion capital of the world. Okay, this is a lot of black and gold. All right, and so thank you for sharing. So I think for some people who might feel like I don't want to go to OVR because I don't want to be quote told what job to do. That is not the case. Sounds more of a collaborative process with your customer or your client. Okay,
yes.
Now let's go. Go ahead.
There has been instances where I've had people come to me with goals that, and I'll be honest, I just don't support, just for various reasons. Maybe they wanted to go into the medical field and they have a huge criminal background. Well, okay, you'll spend all that time and money and effort to be trained, but then when you get out and they try to do a background check, you're not going to get hired.
Yeah.
Those are the limits that we need to discuss. And, that's just an example, but, sometimes that does happen. And I tell people, this is a free country. If you want to train in something, go for it. It's just, if we don't support it and we have reasons behind it,
might not be able to help you. So what I'm hearing here, Jill, is it's a collaborative process with OVR, but everyone who's watching our webinar live or the recording, OVR, they're the experts, right? And so you do want to, if you're going to them for help, you also want to listen to the help they are offering you. And if there is a gentle but encouragement to maybe consider a particular field, it's probably something you want to take into consideration if you are seeking the help of OVR. If you don't want their help, don't take their help. Now, on this point, and I see the comments coming through, y'all keep them up. I love the activity in the chat. I think there's a big question on lots of people's minds right now, which is, what if I need a prosthetic arm or a prosthetic leg in order to get to work? Will OVR pay for it?
Okay, so again, I'm speaking specifically Pennsylvania. I cannot speak for any other state. Typically, when that happens, it has to be prescribed by a doctor, preferably a physical medicine doctor, preferably someone who's experienced working with amputees, not just your PCP writing something down. Preferably, again, a physical medicine doctor. It has to go through your insurance because we utilize comparable benefits first. So a lot of times what happens is insurance may not pay for, say, a high level foot, because they won't pay for a higher level foot. But say the person is working and they're working maybe maybe a construction job or a job where they're on their feet a lot and they would benefit from a more dynamic, higher end foot. That's something we can look at as possibly assisting with. So it's not, again, a lot of rules and policies with that, that kind of go with that. It's just not an automatic thing. And for that, the person definitely has to be working. It can't just be like, well, I'm thinking about going back to work, but I need this better foot or this better knee unit or microprocessor knee. It's like, get what your insurance will pay for now. And then once you've moved on to the employments, if you need that for your employment, we can talk about that.
Okay. Now, on that point, what if somebody is working as an amputee and they need supplies in order to continue working? So, for example, maybe extra liners. Maybe they go through liners a lot on their prosthetic leg because they're out in the field. Maybe they're a construction worker. Van Gregory is asking for that. In that scenario, when you need supplies in order to continue working, is that something that OVR might pay for depending on the circumstances?
Pending, and we don't do it long term.
Got it.
So we're not like a lifetime service type of thing where people would just be like, oh, well, my liners are worn out in 6 months. I'm just going to go back to OVR. No, that's not what,
Okay.
That, maybe 1 or 2 times we, kind of see, but then we kind of have to plant the seed. Like, you have to be responsible for these. Like, we can't, and that goes for other like durable medical equipment as well, not just prosthetic software liners. And again,
that's another question that we saw in the chat for other types of durable medical equipment, or maybe even home modifications or vehicle modifications. How does OVR handle those things?
Yes. So we do assist with those. So with home mods, you have to be employed. Like I pretty much make that very strict, simply because they're very expensive and it's a very long process to get them done. Again, speaking through Pennsylvania, speaking specifically our office, because there's a lot of, you have to be evaluated. There's an architect that has to come out to your house. It gets very involved, and it's a very involved process and long process. But it's something that we have helped with. We've assisted people with stair lifts. I just did a stair lift for someone not that long ago. Grab bars. We did grab bars. Outdoor ramps. Those tend to get very long term because there's a lot involved with that. And living in the city where we live in, everything's built up, not across,
Yes.
not horizontal. So it makes it more challenging. And sometimes we can't modify because their home is just not able to be modified for, because they're older homes. And again, they're built on hills and they're vertical, not horizontal. And, but it's something that we do assist with, but it's, again, has to be working limited basis, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's really much a client. There are some hard and fast rules. So for example, if you're not working, do not be, and have no intention of going to work, do not contact OVR. But other than that, it's always worth an ask. Is this an eligible expense? And then finding out with the person assigned to you what the rules are. I think for some people, maybe watching our recording or joining us live, it might sound like, wow, that's a lot of work. Yes, because it's a significant expense. So on that point, does OVR ever work with maybe an agency like Amputee Aid or a social worker like Emily to kind of help with the paperwork and moving the process along to get expenses paid, or to kind of like troubleshoot what OVR can pay for as opposed to what another nonprofit might be able to pay for?
Sometimes, I mean, we would gladly be partnered with, with someone if someone needs that type of assistance.
Okay.
We also do have, and I'm speaking to some more general terms.
Yeah.
We do have what we call FNT. So if we have someone that comes to our office that has a very high income, we have a formula that we use that they might have to pay so much for their service.
Yes.
It's very rare that it happens, but it has happened where I've had people I can't assist. I had a gentleman years ago, it was a prosthetic thing, but his income was too high. And I tried to deduct I could deduct for dependents, I could deduct for other like medical expenses. Like I tried to kind of shave it down, and we just couldn't, we just couldn't as per our policy. So, now that was a bit of a bummer for him.
Now, on that point, and again, with this next question, everybody, please keep in mind that eligibility might look different in your particular state. Okay. Yes. But I saw this question come through on the chat, and I was wondering it too. When it comes to eligibility, disability in particular, how is that proven? What documentation is required? Is there a physical exam at the OVR office? What is used, generally speaking, subject to your state's rules, everyone, giant footnote there, subject to your state's rules. What, generally speaking, are OVR offices looking for in determining whether someone is disabled for OVR service purposes?
Big one, medical records. Medical documentation from your physician, from your psychiatrist, from your therapist. Getting that diagnosis on paper, and if your physician has any documentation on what we call your functional limitations, that is extremely helpful to us. Another part we can use is testing. Okay. So I'll have people that will come to my office and say, well, I think I have a learning disability or math disorder, and I had a lot of trouble in school. And so we can set them up with testing, which we pay for, to see, is there a diagnosis or any type of limitation regarding learning, or any type of processing disorder, or if someone had maybe had a TBI, how has that changed since their TBI? Testing also helps us in vocational planning as well. Okay. So those are kind of like the two big, things we have for eligibility. We have, your medical records and testing if needed. Now, I don't test everyone. Again, it's on case by case, customer by customer basis, but that's sort of the big two.
Okay. All right. Now, is it common to work with folks who have what we call co-occurring issues or comorbidities, where maybe they are an amputee, but they are also struggling with substance use disorder or maybe a mental health condition? Do you often see folks coming to your office who have those co-occurring issues?
Yes.
Okay.
And ideally, if they do, we would require you to be in some type of treatment program. Okay. Because if you're not addressing your mental health, if you're not addressing your substance abuse problem, working's not going to work. I mean, plain and simple. You could sit here and tell me all day that it will work, but if you're actively using or not in mental health treatment, it's going to implode.
Okay. Now,
You know,
let's imagine someone has contacted OVR and OVR has determined based on their state that they are eligible for services. Talk to us about how long the process typically takes for like an average person. Because although I think it'd be great if like you were eligible one day and then the next day, boom, you have a job. That would be amazing. Probably does not happen that way. What can kind of talk us about like the average kind of client file? How long does working with OVR typically take? And is there like a limit on when it's just done? You can no longer come back to OVR.
well, are you asking how long does it take from like applying to receiving services, or the whole process in general?
Oh, great.
It varies.
Answer both of those questions. I did not know I was asking both those questions, but we need to know the difference. So answer both and tell us why they're different, please.
So when a person contacts their agency, they are assigned a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
How that's again, differs state by state. In our office, we typically send a letter, or sometimes once they're assigned to a counselor, the counselor will reach out to the customer to schedule an appointment. Typically that appointment, I prefer in-person appointments. We have a lot of counselors that do phone and Microsoft Team appointments. I just prefer in person because I'm old school that way. But we take your application. We get an idea, just demographic, basic information, work history information, if you have any type of criminal background. We get your medical information, your doctors, what medications you're taking. Obviously, what is your disability? Tell me how that limits you in employment. What are your interests? What is your work history? Just sort of those like basic questions. And then once, depending on the customer, we usually will have you sign releases to obtain medical records, or we'll send you for testing. And then once we get those medical records and review them, and then part of the counselor's job is to make that determination of eligibility. Again, it's going to look different in every state, but there's certain criteria in Pennsylvania that you have to meet in order to be what we consider most significantly disabled, or MSD. Once we do that, we say, okay, hey, this person's eligible. We contact them. We schedule another appointment. We start kind of just brainstorming, throwing out ideas. And again, it looks so different for everyone, just depending on their needs and what they're looking for. So typically and to kind of the second part of your question,
that's okay.
The time limit for OVR, when somebody's employed, we typically close them out at 90 days. That's under our federal policy. If you have obtained employment and maintained it for 90 days, and if you're no longer needing any other services, we close out your file. Now, if you decide to come back for, say, you lost your job and you need more assistance with finding a new one, or you need something else to help you maintain your employment, that's something we can sit down and talk about as well. So it's not like a one and done thing, but again, we're also not like lifetime either. So
that's kind of like a journey toward getting you re-employed or employed, but that journey will look a little differently based on each person's individual needs, barriers to getting employed, or other services that they might need to couple in. If you're looking for retraining or training in a different field, it's going to take a little longer than someone who might just need a refresher on their resume and some help with job interview prep. Now, on that point, I saw some other questions come through on types of support that OVR might, depending on the state, be able to provide. And a common question is transportation assistance. Is that typically an eligible expense for OVR? And if so, what kind of transportation are we talking about?
So, transportation, a couple different paths for that. One, and I noticed the question pop up here. I didn't read it. I just saw the one word. I saw vehicle modifications.
Yeah.
So I can elaborate on that because I'm actually the vehicle mod coordinator in our office. So I do that
great.
So yes, we do assist with vehicle mods. Again, very similar to home mods. You have to be like working in a training program that leads to employment, or very actively seeking employment. Not just, I just want vehicle mods to go to the doctor. Okay, that's great, but that's not what we do. And you kind of have to show us that you're actively job seeking. It can't just be sit back and, I'm looking. No. You have to be very active in your job seeking process. And you have to be able to document that and show your counselor that you're actively seeking employment before we move forward with the vehicle modifications. Again, they could be very expensive. That's why we have those policies and parameters set in place. So how that works, if someone comes to us and they qualify and say they are working or they're actively job seeking and they're in need of vehicle mods, what we do first is, one, if they have a permit. So they're going to need to get that permit before we can do what we call the on-the-road evaluation. So OVR does not do them. We have two providers in the Pittsburgh area that do the evaluation and the lessons. So what would happen with that is we would refer you to them. We would pay for the eval once you have your permit. They would evaluate you and say, like, okay, this person would, needs hand controls. And we're recommending, say, 20 hours of lessons for that. So when we go ahead and we can assist with the lessons, once they pass their driver's test, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you're a driver prior to needing vehicle mods, you're going to have to take your driver's exam again.
Keep that in mind, everyone. Yeah. You're going to need to do the exam again.
That's Pennsylvania. So once the person has passed their driver's exam, they'll say, okay, they're ready for their modifications. Now, we assist with modifications. We do not purchase the vehicle. So the customer is solely responsible for purchasing the vehicle. We only look at the modification part of it.
Got it. Okay.
So
good to know. All right. I'm having a flashback to when I had to do my parallel parking at so everyone, you had to practice that again. But it's good to know if you are a vehicle owner and you are employed or about to be employed or actively seeking employment, you may, big capital MAY, may be eligible for vehicle modifications if you are eligible in your state. You want to talk to your state specifically about that. So I thought, Jeffrey, this is a great question. So the question is, does this program apply for different types of abilities, like people with medical diagnoses of autism or POTS, assuming this just isn't for amputees? Correct, Jeffrey? We're not talking about just amputees, but Jill, on that larger point, what is the definition of disabled for OVR purposes?
So, if you want me to get very technical,
yes,
very bureaucratic. Okay. I actually wrote these down because I see them every day, but it's another thing to have to read them off.
Okay.
So, in order for, again, specifically Pennsylvania, OVR, you have to have limitations in these following areas: mobility, self-care, work tolerance, interpersonal skills, work skills, communication, and self-direction.
Okay.
Those are listed on as the VRC, as a vocational rehab counselor, when we do our eligibility, those are what listed, and we have to document under each thing. Now everyone may not fall under all these categories.
Okay.
Can you state those categories? Can you state the categories again?
Sure. Mobility, self-care, work tolerance, interpersonal skills, work skills, communication, and self-direction.
Okay. Now, Jill, before you continue, does somebody have to have indications of disability under all of those categories, or like the majority or a certain number?
So yes. So as of now, right now, 4. It used to be 3.
Got it.
They moved it to 4, a few months ago.
Okay.
Now, there are times when this is sort of like an outlier thing that had happened. So what had happened is, prior to the pandemic, again, speaking for Pennsylvania specifically, everyone was on a waiting list. Everyone who came through our door was automatically on a waiting list. Once the pandemic hit, things slowed down, referrals slowed down greatly. Obviously, no one was going anywhere. No one was doing anything. Once things started opening back up, we had it created kind of almost like this bubble of funding. So we had a lot of excess funding, and we said, okay, we're changing our eligibility. Now people only have to meet 2 to be considered significantly disabled, and we can move forward with services. We did that for about 1.5 years. Then we the pendulum kind of swung back the other way. And now it's these 4 to meet what we call the MSD, the most significantly disabled.
Okay.
So there's ebbs and flows to this. There's ebbs and flows to funding. Again, can't speak to other states, but me being here 24 years, I've just seen it go always and everywhere.
Yes, yes. And this will, without getting political, because Emily already told us our rules about the webinar, we'll just say some of this is going to trend based on the federal government trends and budget policies.
Well, our funding is is federal dollars.
Yeah, it's federal dollars, exactly. Yeah. And probably for the 100th time during this webinar, I'm going to say, everyone, please check with your state for your specific requirements in your state. And if you don't know how to do that, or you don't want to do that, here's your person, Emily. Okay, contact Emily. She will help you.
The simplest thing to start is just internet search vocational rehab and put your state in.
Put your state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've done that for other people. I've had people say, "Hey, I'm moving to Tennessee.
Yeah.
What's in Tennessee? Can you transfer my case to Tennessee?" No, we can't transfer state from state. And I'll just say, "Okay, what area of Tennessee are you moving to?" And then I'll look it up and say, "Okay, at least give them some phone number if they can at least call someone that can guide to the right."
I'm so glad that you brought that up, actually, because there are times, for amputee aid, we work with folks all over the state. It doesn't matter whether you move, but we do have clients who move from one state to the next. And what I'm hearing you say is this isn't a national program where if you move, we can just, quote, transfer your OVR services to the new state you move into. If you are moving maybe for personal reasons, family reasons, or because you like the job market in a different state, you will have to establish your eligibility in that new state. Is that right, Jill?
Yes.
And it might look different.
Correct. Sometimes what I've done for people, and I'll say well, look, I have your testing and your records. I'll give them to the customer. I say, take these to whatever voc rehab state you're going to. This may help with I can't speak for them, but this may help with their eligibility. This may kind of save a lot of time. If you're coming to them, say, "Hey, I have all this testing. It's only 6 months old," or whatever. That's very helpful to the counselor in the other state.
Okay. Good to know. Now, I feel like we're putting you on the spot because we're getting so many questions. You guys, I love this. Do this every webinar, please. We love this. But we're getting into the last 10 minutes already. I knew this was going to go fast. I didn't think it was going to go this fast. So if you have questions that you are dying to ask, either come off of mute or put them in the chat. We'll try to get to them. But Jill, if you're ready, we're going to rapid fire through some of these. Okay, I saw, Lucha, if we can scroll up a little bit more. I saw one question come through a little bit more. Okay, first question in our rapid fire questions. Number 1, can potential customers apply online for OVR services?
In our state, yes. I believe so, but I could not even tell you how to navigate that.
Okay, so check with your state. Possibly, maybe, kind of. Okay, is the answer to that question.
As I mentioned before, we work with our one-stops, which is, again, CareerLink in our office.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get referrals funneled through them. If someone applies for CareerLink and they click disability services, sometimes their information is sent to us.
Okay.
I don't know how that works in the cyber university or the cyber universe, I should say.
Yeah.
But again, it differs state by state.
Okay.
That's bad for me. My kind of personal advice would be to call and talk to a human being.
Yes. If you can do that, we always prefer that.
These days, but
get a person on the line.
Yes.
And oftentimes, I know that if maybe it isn't available online, a lot of times say, you're not mobile or whatever, a lot of agencies will mail you the application.
Great point, Emily.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you have transportation issues, mobility issues, maybe you are a new amputee and you're at home recovering, ask for a paper application if you can't apply online. Now, before we go to the next question, Jill, could you, because we've used the phrase one stop a couple of times. Can you tell, for people who might not know what we're referring to when we say one stop, can you tell us what that is?
Sure. Every state has what they call one stop. So basically, it's an employment agency. And I'm sure a lot of people who have ever had to apply for unemployment had to go through a one stop.
Yeah.
To show that they're,
they're looking for work.
In Pennsylvania, they're meeting their unemployment requirements type of thing. So every state has one. Again, here in Pennsylvania, it's CareerLink. I think in Illinois, it's Illinois Works or something or Work Illinois. Because I had a friend that I refer to that, so that's why I know.
Okay.
But it's basically the state run, for lack of a better term, because I actually think the employees are county, and in Pennsylvania, I think specifically Allegheny, I think they're county employees. Employment assistance. They have a lot of, they do a lot of, I'm again speaking through CurrentLink, they have like computer classes, they have interview workshops, they have resume workshops, they have hiring events, they have job fairs, that sort of thing.
Got it. Okay. So it's like your state hub
or county
hub for all things employment related. Okay. And lots of times if you have found yourself unemployed and they make you apply for jobs, it's probably connected to that hub. Okay.
Yes.
If you're not quite sure where to find that, again, contact us. Emily will help you with that. Next question. This is a great question. Are there times when you have to pay money back to OVR?
Good question. I don't know. That's never happened to me personally as a counselor. The only time money comes into effect is if, like I was explaining before, we have what's called FNT. If someone comes to us with needing assistance and they have a high income, we look at their income and say they may need to contribute, say, $2,000 to their vehicle mod, or something like. I'm just using that as an example. Or their other, their durable medical equipment or their home mod, or, obviously it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is not that you have to pay back, but that you might have to contribute to the bill. So there might be a portion that OVR pays and you'd be responsible for the other portion.
Okay. Yeah, depending on your finances and just depending on the service that we're providing.
Yes. And again, at the risk of stating the obvious, like I said earlier, I'm going to ask the first question first. Another obvious point here is if there's a situation of fraud, yes. Okay. So we're not giving legal advice, but again, we don't have bail money here at Amputee Aid. If you are defrauding the government, that probably is a time when you might be ordered to pay back some money. Do not do that, anybody. This is not a place that you want to scam. They do wonderful resources. All right. So that's probably the other obvious one. All right. Next question. Great kind of recap of what we've talked about so far too. Do you need to be working or looking for work to be eligible for assistance with vehicle alterations? So could you kind of remind us about that?
Yes. You have to be either employed, very actively seeking for employment and be able to prove that, or in a training program, post-secondary training program, that leads to employment.
Great. Yes.
With the goal of employment.
So if you are,
typically we only do that if someone is say in like a 2-year or 4-year school and they want vehicle mods. Typically, we only consider that in their last year. However, if they during their 2 or 4-year program, if they need their vehicle to say do an internship, or their only way is to commute to campus, we could take in some scenarios and some situations. We can listen to those scenarios, situations.
Great. Yeah, so ask and advocate. That's why we included this topic in our month of advocacy as our theme. Advocate, ask the question. If you are someone who is not employed, not looking for employment, and not in that station of your life, OVR is not the resource for you anyway. But if you are looking for work or employed, ask, always ask. This is another great question, and I think very appropriate for those of us in Pennsylvania where it's, especially Pittsburgh, where it's snowy, icy, cold, rainy, and hilly everywhere, okay? Does OVR take into consideration the weather or seasons when determining remote or in-person work or establishing employment goals? So, for example, if you are an amputee and you live in a snowy, cold, rainy, hilly area like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, does that factor into establishing goals like whether you should be working outside, becoming a mail carrier, doing Amazon deliveries? Like, does OVR consider things like that, weather and seasons, when establishing employment goals?
Yes, we do. So we can talk about those and talk about those barriers, and how they impact, potential employment.
Yeah, great point. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. And I think that's very, without being overly generalizing, a comment for the amputee community is we don't want to say our prosthetic leg or a prosthetic arm is a quote limitation. We don't want to have an accommodation. We don't want that, but you should, right? Because in establishing employment goals, if walking long time or sitting or standing a long time is not doable for you, it is appropriate to have that conversation, right, Jill, when you're establishing your employment goals?
Of course. Of course.
Of course.
No, I'm going to throw out a little resource too. I don't know if some people might be familiar, some maybe not. Job Accommodation Network, JAN.
Oh, tell us more.
If you internet search Ask JAN, JAN, it's a very good resource. It gives you, it goes by diagnosis, disability, and it gives you possible accommodations, how to go about asking for those accommodations. It kind of gives like a general idea of kind of navigating that process a little bit with employment.
Okay.
So it's Ask JAN.
Great resource. We will include a link.
That's for everyone. That's not just Pennsylvania. That's anyone could go under Ask JAN.
We love resources. We will include a lot of links with our Friday recording email, but we will include that in there as well, JAN. All right. Final question before we give you the last word, Jill, and then we'll do our giveaway. But man, we could probably have you back another time. There are so many things that we could ask. I'm so thankful for that. Now, here's the last question, and then we'll give you the final word for any comments that you would like to share as we're kind of coming to the end of our webinar. If a potential customer is denied services, what are their options?
Good question. Depends. How it kind of works in our office is if we're denying someone services, and say the counselor is denying someone services and they don't have, the counselor needs to have a lot of facts and notes to back that up. It usually goes up to the supervisor. If they can't solve it on a supervisor level, it goes to our district administrator. If they can't solve it on our district administrator level, they go to what we call CAP. Again, this is strictly Pennsylvania. It's Client Assistance Program, and it kind of goes to them to help and try to come up with some sort of resolution. That's sort of like the final say. But there is a process there. There is a process. Yes. And although we don't want to suggest that OVR often gets it wrong, it's comforting and reassuring to know that there is a process to allow that self-advocacy to continue if there's a disagreement on maybe a cost, a service, or disability and eligibility overall. Yeah, I can give you an example of that. So we did a vehicle mod for a gentleman a couple of years ago, and he was having a lot of difficulty with the steering system. So we had him reevaluated, and the evaluator seemed to think there's really no problem here, but the client and his family was very hesitant, or very proactive on wanting to get him a new system. However, within our vehicle mod policy, when it's a higher end modification like this person had, it states that we can't do repeat modifications unless it's been 10 years or the car has under 100,000 miles. So they were kind of fighting that. I said, I don't know, drive it. I didn't know what other. So we had to call the CAT. Yeah, and I don't know. I think they were still working on it. I don't really know the outcome, but we didn't have like a hard and fast evidence to say like, hey, yes, he needs this system when his current system was working just fine.
That's so great. Can you all see why we included OVR in our month of advocacy? Because this is a wonderful resource, but B, you learn about how you can advocate for yourself and also get yourself in a position where maybe you're more financially comfortable. Maybe it's a self-esteem issue with reskilling, upskilling, getting the supplies to keep you employed. That's why we asked Jill to come here during this month to talk to us about OVR. Now, Jill, as we're kind of coming to the end of our time together, are there any final words or last comments that you would like to share with us?
Just one, thank you guys for having me. And again, public speaking is not my forte, so but you guys made it pretty comfortable for me, which I appreciate.
Yay!
Two, again, if you're interested in working, reach out to your state's vocational rehab department. See what's available to you in your state. Advocate for yourself. Or even if you're assigned, this is kind of an aside, but if you're assigned a counselor, maybe you're not like jiving well with that counselor, you always have the option of asking for someone different.
Yes.
You just don't jive. And I've had that happen with my career. I just don't, we don't mesh. It's just personality, for whatever reasons, we just don't mesh. Feel free to again, advocate for yourself and ask for that. And just, listen to what they say, be an advocate for yourself. help yourself, do some of your own research. We highly encourage that. One of our sayings here is, we're not going to work harder at your job goal than you.
Yes.
That's important to really show your motivation and your follow through.
Oh man, what? I don't know if we can top that. That was a great, now we're going to give away some stuff, but that was a great kind of way to end out our session and really summarize what we're talking about today. LVR is a resource to work with you and to help you as you are advocating for yourself. And I was honestly, I knew we were going to learn a lot from you, Jill, but there are things even I did not know that OVR can help with. And so I know, like I said, this is hopefully the first of several conversations we have with you here locally. We know that locally for our local people, but I hope everyone is taking away, whether you're with us live on Zoom or TikTok or watching or recording on YouTube, that we are planting some seeds for you, for resources that are available for you or someone in the community, because there's such a wealth of resources and information available through your local OVR. So Jill, I saw lots of emojis and celebrations and thank yous. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone in the chat saying thank you as well to us, but more to Jill. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jill. We really appreciate it. Now, everyone, next week, we're talking about personal advocacy, advocating for your own me time. Everyone's got to learn the skill of taking some time for themselves. We're going to learn how you learn to advocate for giving yourself some time and some things you can do. Hobbies, blogging, that kind of thing. And we'll have our special guest, Kim, joining us to talk to us about that and a giveaway next Wednesday at 2:00 Eastern time here on Zoom and TikTok. But we're going to give away another white box with a little bit of homework. Just give us some feedback. Emily, tell us who our winner is. Everyone on Zoom, we grabbed your names as you were here. We're going to draw a winner and we'll mail this box to you. Who's our winner this time?
And also, just a caveat, if you do need assistance finding the vocational rehab in your state, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to get that resource over.
Yes.
Julie Parilla.
Julie, congratulations, Julie. Woo! All right. We will be mailing you our white box with that. It's our welcome kit. I think you'll find some things in here that you like. And the only request is send us a couple of sentences giving us your feedback. Okay. There's a little bit of homework attached to this one. Next Wednesday, there will be no homework other than spend the money. Okay. You're getting a $50 gift card, but we're going to tell you more about it when you come back here next Wednesday, 2:00 Eastern time on Zoom and TikTok. Until next week, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session of Life Amplified on behalf of myself, Jennifer, and Emily, and Nick and Lucho as well. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful end of this week, a great beginning of next week, and we'll see you Wednesday, May 20th for Life Amplified, 2:00, right here on Zoom and TikTok. Bye, everyone. Take care. Thank you so much, Jill.